I am briefly going to mention a couple things Starlink related, as it's a follow up for last week's show. The satellites have officially launched last night at 10:30 p.m. local time, which is Eastern time, as they launched from Cape Canaveral. The Falcon 9 rocket carrying the 60 small satellites into low Earth orbit blasted off from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, clearing a key hurdle for a business venture that Musk hopes will generate much-needed cash for his larger ambitions in space. For those of you who don't remember, last week it is when it was supposed to launch. However, it got delayed twice, once due to high winds over the Cape, and then the next night in order to update satellite software and triple check all systems, because you don't want this thing to fail once it's up there, because there's no getting it back. And that being said, we also got some interesting news saying that while not all the satellites will be up by the end of this year, early next year, enough of them will be up, however, that will allow them to start selling the Starlink internet service starting either late this year or early next year. So,
My question is, what is the latency going to be like?
we have no idea on any of this stuff yet. We don't know pricing, and we don't know speed. We don't know specs. There's been no tests of it yet from orbit, and
Yeah,
we just have to wait.
It's also a question of like where there's satellites, so they can move them kind of wherever the hell they want, right? So
Yeah,
it's kind of,
the demonstration they have is them passing in a crosshatch pattern all across the globe. So as one satellite's moving out of the area, the next satellite's just moving into the same area. So once all satellites are up, we will have a literal global internet where service should be completely uninterrupted. And they are saying, while we haven't seen any private tests from people who usually do it, like the large news companies as well as tech YouTubers and other people, about for latency issues and speed things, they are stating that it is cable grade broadband internet beamed directly from the sky. So
okay. I just had this weird thought. This is just totally it's semi on topic, but I just had this weird thought. You know how you pull out a compass and it points north because of like the magnetic polar like pole, right?
hmm
Just that sort of magnetic force that can like get your compass to point in that direction. I think the end game, if there could somehow be some sort of like Wi-Fi that could be that all encompassing on Earth, just some sort of internet
I
access.
mean, that's kind of what
At,
Musk is going for. That's what
but
we talked
but
about that last week.
but I mean, if they put it like if they could just put it like on the polar caps essentially, and they wouldn't have to be spread out all over. You know what I mean? It's like that's if something like that were to happen. That's what I'm saying. It's like that could take like 100 years or something. But I'm just if the way that
Honestly, Musk's option is probably one of the best, and the way he's doing it, if it
yeah.
works, and if it works well, land-based internet companies, and as we mentioned it last week, also possibly even cell phone companies could be in deep trouble from this, because there will be no need for data services for from cell phone companies, as well as you won't need a text or voice message service from them either.
If
And
they're as disruptive as Google Fiber was, like yeah, great. That's going to be amazing. That
but
that
I mean, they did say it's going to be affordable too. They're saying it's going to be affordable cable grade internet speed, and I'm honestly really looking forward to seeing the pricing and service options they offer.
Thing is, you can't game on it unless the latency's low. That's the thing.
Yep.
That is the
that
thing.
is the thing.
See, when it comes to gaming, it's like latency is very important. Download speed's only important if you're just trying to get the damn software on your system. That's where the download speed is. Or if you're streaming a game like through PlayStation Plus or something like that.
Yeah.
Or what Google Stadia is going to be doing. You know, that then you need like you need latency and better bandwidth. But yeah, Elon Musk, he's got electric cars going on. He's pioneering that, and now we're talking about like satellite
internet. I mean, satellite internet has been a thing for a while now, but it's been plagued with latency issues, as you've said. I remember this was, I forget when or how old this is, but does anybody remember Hughes Internet? Hughes satellite internet? You had to have a satellite dish to receive it and stuff like that. That's an interesting question that Okir brought up. And like, what type of equipment will we need in our homes to be able to receive the internet, or will we need any equipment at all?
Yeah, if you have to like mount something outside on your porch or something.
Because I know both you and Okir both live in apartment buildings, and some to most apartment buildings don't allow satellite dishes.
Where I live, they allow satellite dishes. I see them in people's patios all the time. It's all DirecTV, you know, something like that. You know, my ghetto retro. My first access to the internet at home was on web TV. That's my backstory, which later became MSN TV, but it was originally called called web TV. And I gotta say, that was before I had DSL. I think it was dial-up because you couldn't use the phone at the same time while you used it. I think I made my first Amazon purchase on web TV. I think they were strategy guides for Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII.
But yeah,
anyway,
so the question is,
internet
is what's the latency going to be? What's the speeds or speed options if there's more than one option? And what's the price? They did say affordable, but what do they consider affordable is the question. Also,
if you're getting
do you need equipment?
Bucks.
Do you need separate equipment to receive the signal? If so, are we talking dish, or are we talking just like some small antenna you can stick up on a wall somewhere?
Or just the same way you almost have a modem and a router like on your desk. Maybe something just like that, except you're not really connecting it into a wall anymore.
Alright, moving away from that to NASA's Project Artemis, which is planning on putting people on the moon in 5 years. Again. And it's worth pointing out that this July it will be the 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing. 50 years. It took us 50 years to finally say we're going back. And it's going to take us 55 years to actually get back. Oh, and the first landing in 2024 is supposed to also put the first woman on the moon as well, which is one of the reasons they named the project Project Artemis. Artemis, as some of you may know, is the Greek goddess of the hunt, but she is also the goddess of the moon. So,
you know,
context.
I'm just thinking, like, before we send people to Mars, I mean, yeah, shouldn't we be sending people to the moon? You know, can we like totally tame the moon? Can we make the moon our bitch before we go to
Speaking
Mars?
of that, the full extent of the plan is for us to put a permanent moon base on the moon by 2028. So we will actually have a lunar outpost on the moon's surface by 2028. At the very least, that is what is planned. Now, this will be happening in 3 stages, well, multiple stages. Total of 32 launches, in fact, over the course of the next over the next 9 years, from this year all the way to 2028. The first, well, since we're talking about going to the moon, I'll bring up these topics first. The NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine confirmed that Artemis 1 will be an uncrewed mission around the moon planned for 2020. Next will come Artemis 2, which will orbit Earth's satellite with a crew at around 2022, followed by Artemis 3, which will put astronauts on lunar soil in 2024, including the first woman. The 3 will be launched into space by the biggest rocket ever built, the Boeing Space Launch System, and affixed to the summit of the Space Launch System, or SLS, will be NASA's Deep Space Exploration Capsule, the Orion, which Lockheed Martin is contracted to make and produce for us. In addition to these missions, which will be all NASA's efforts, there will be 5 launches carrying the building blocks for the lunar mini station, which will orbit the moon and serve as a staging point for moon landing, called Gateway. The missions that will be carrying the pieces of Gateway and assembling them up in orbit around the moon, it will be carried out between 2022 and 2024 by private space companies, which of course NASA will be paying for their services. And I think we have actually, a company has been announced that will be this actually happened today. NASA will be contracting Maxar to build the Lunar Gateway power module for the Artemis moon missions. So one contractor has already been obtained by NASA to build part of the Gateway mini station. And the mini station initially will only have a couple pieces, which will be a simple power module, a propulsion module or element, and a small habitat module. And the astronauts will be stopping at the Gateway station before descending down to the lunar surface. As for the lander, that is another thing that NASA will be outsourcing, and so far we've seen 2 designs, one from Jeff Bezos's basically the Amazon owner's space agency has revealed Blue Moon is his lander, and he showed it off just either this week or last week. And that is his proposed lander for the Artemis mission. And we've also gotten aerospace giants Boeing and Lockheed Martin also competing for the contract as well.
Oh, that's heating up there. Sadly, I'm just thinking of like military spending that's probably just going to continue, but then on top of that, there's also some money going towards...
Interestingly enough, Trump, believe it or not, he actually did something good this time. He has proposed that Congress raise NASA's budget by, I believe it's $1.4 billion.
Wait, it's like, when was the last time it was raised? I think it's like been like cut.
Actually, not too long ago, believe it or not. Yes, it has suffered severe cuts in the past, but it's actually been on the rise since Obama. Slow, but steady. But yeah, so they're actually most likely to be getting a budget increase this next year. We'll see what happens. Especially since not only Trump but Pence has, Vice President Pence is also pushing NASA. Like, we need to be like, we originally had a 10-year plan to get people to the moon, and now it's 5 years to get us to the moon and 10 years to get us an outpost on the moon. So they've significantly shortened the time scale on this.
Trying to picture at one point, are there going to be like, when are there going to be moon tourists?
I'd say give it 20 years after we build the moon base.
So there's going to be like those zero gravity plane rides that people can go on now. It's like those people are going to be like going to the moon, like.
I can just see somebody with a selfie stick on the moon, like, you know that's going to happen. Yeah. You're gonna face palm when you see it, but it's going to happen.
Somebody's gonna go knock over that U.S. flag that's planted there. If that thing's still standing there, someone's gonna knock it over on accident, and it's gonna be like somebody like stepping on the Mona Lisa or something. That's what it's gonna be.
It's gonna be like Futurama when they go to the moon. Like Fry steps in Buzz Aldrin's footsteps that are still on the moon, and they knock over the flag and they ride around on the moon rover and stuff like that.
No, I think it's very, very, Futurama takes place so far into the future, and there's like, all that space travel. You'd think like that would have already happened.
Well, see, the thing is though, they don't know where the moon landing was. That was their excuse. They don't know where the actual moon landing took place. That was the excuse as to why it never happened, why it hasn't happened already. There's a theme park on the moon, for Christ's sake. Remember?
God, I never really got into Futurama. I really like.
This is like the first or second episode.
God, I know I saw like the first season of Futurama. I just don't remember that.
Anyway, yeah. So we're going back to the moon, and we're bringing friends, and we're setting up we're building a home. We're just gonna have a nice picket fence,
and we're probably some 300 years away from terraforming the moon to be habitable for people.
Honestly, I don't think there's any worth in doing that. If anything, it'd be better if we did that with Mars.
But yeah, Mars is larger, but you do it on a smaller scale on the moon.
I believe Mars has a slight atmosphere, like super slight, like 0.01% atmosphere. Meanwhile, the moon actually has 0 atmosphere. But like
nothing to work with.
Yeah.
At all.